Hi. Let's take a look at how exactly to play Jinhsi with each of her 3 currently preferred teammates, Mortefi, Yuanwu, and Yinlin, and also talk about their pros and cons. Before we begin, a couple of disclaimers. I will be using only Verena for this showcase and make use of the quick rotation covered in the previous video. Secondly, my Jinhsi is not on her signature weapon, so don't be surprised if the numbers are a bit lower than what you're used to seeing. And lastly, to explain the exact rotations, I will be talking over my gameplay, so there will be a lot of time stops, rewinds, slow motions, and the like. So if you want to look at the unedited runs without commentary, I've included them at the end of the video, so please use the timestamps to find what you're looking for. With all of this in mind, let's dive into the first and probably worst partner for Jinhsi right now, Mortefi. The problem with Mortefi is that his ultimate does not work with Jinhsi's incarnation basic attacks. I'm guilty of this myself for not testing it on day 1, but to be fair, nobody saw a reason to test it because according to the description, it should just work. Unfortunately, the way it's worded is not the way it's coded, and instead of triggering on basic and heavy attacks, Mortefi's coordinated attacks only trigger on dealing basic and heavy damage. This wording is consistent with the Chinese text, so not a mistranslation, but simply a faulty description. Jinhsi's basic attacks in her elevated state deal skill damage, so there's actually no way for her to benefit from Mortefi's ultimate. Now, if you've been using Mortefi successfully, then that's probably because you have sequences active on him. If you have S1, Mortefi fires coordinated attacks if you use a resonance skill on your active character, and Jinhsi has quite a few of those, so if you can space out your skill casts by at least 1 second, then that's one way to at least get a couple of stacks during Mortefi's ultimate. At S4, his ultimate duration is extended to 17 seconds total, up from 10 seconds, which again is useless for Jinhsi herself, but still helps in a way because Jinhsi's rotations are so short that by the time you switch back to Verena or Mortefi, Mortefi's ultimate is still active, allowing you to squeeze in a few additional coordinated attacks with their basic and heavy attacks. I would say though that Mortefi only becomes viable at S5 and above, because now Mortefi's own resonance skill and forte skill also shoot coordinated attacks. These abilities are used very often throughout his rotations, making his overall stack generation for Jinhsi much more consistent. At S6 he also buffs Jinhsi's attacks, so that's also a nice bonus. In conclusion, he's definitely usable with Jinhsi. The problem is that he's very sequence dependent, and if you have him at S5 or 6, then that's probably because you pulled for Jian. And who are you going to play Jian with if not Mortefi? So it's a bit unfortunate. And also just for context, my Mortefi is at S5 and still doesn't perform as well as the Yuanwu team. But that said, let's go into the precise Mortefi rotation. The way I play this team is by, instead of going in circles, I rotate in a zigzag pattern of Verena into Jinhsi, then Mortefi into Jinhsi, Verena into Jinhsi, and so on and so forth. The reason is that if you go through a full rotation on both Verena and Mortefi for every turn that Jinhsi takes, you're wasting too much time on your supports and are not making use of Jinhsi's almost non-existent downtime. We're gonna start out with Verena, but before that we can use just the skill on Mortefi to make our life easier later when it's his turn. Verena then goes into her 3-second rotation, basic attacks 3, 4, and 5, ultimate, skill, echo, jump into basics, and that's full concerto. Now we do our thing on Jinhsi, and once we trigger her outro, we can really start generating some stacks. Since we used Mortefi's skill earlier, his bar is full upon entry, so we can use his forte skill right away. Then we use his ultimate early, because there's no use in saving it for Jinhsi. That way at least his own basic attacks can generate a few stacks. Then we quickly charge the rest of his concerto energy, and once full we can swap cancel the Heron and intro onto Jinhsi. Next up is Verena's turn, and Verena has this weird intro where she gets stuck in the air for a moment. So we're gonna make use of this awkward spot and swap onto Mortefi for his skill again, just like we did in the very first rotation, in preparation for his next turn. This also allows us to swap back to Verena mid-combat, which again enables her basics 3, 4, and 5, and you know the rest by now. So even if it's Verena's turn, we still always squeeze in a Mortefi skill for his resource management. And from here on out, it's pretty much just rinse and repeat. One minor optimization that you can think about is if Verena's turn is coming up, but you know that her ultimate will be available, she actually doesn't need the intro to fill concerto reliably. So you can feed the intro into Mortefi instead for even more gauge on him. So here it's Verena's turn, so I should be swapping into her, but I give the intro to Mortefi, do his skills, and only then swap to Verena, because I know that she can still fill concerto with just her ultimate. And that's all I have for Mortefi. Let's now look at Yuanwu. Unlike Mortefi, who has to fill his ultimate, and Yinlin, who has to fill her forte gauge, Yuanwu just needs to place his pillar to get his coordinated attacks going. We're gonna abuse that and play him exclusively as a pillar bot, and at the same time, rejuvenating glow set holder. All you have to do is put this 3-star weapon on him, and just one basic attack from him will activate the attack buff for your entire team. Yuanwu will not be triggering a single outro during this fight, so the Moonlit Cloud set and Heron are better used on Verena in this specific setup. We want to start the fight by swapping onto Verena to enable her basics 3, 4, and 5 into ultimate, and since she's wearing the Heron in this team comp, we cannot use the usual EQ jump combo. Heron can only be swap cancelled, so we're going to cast Heron, swap onto Yuanwu, which will trigger a basic attack that heals and gets the healing set going, then places Pillar, use the turtle, and swap out. That's all we're ever going to do in Yuanwu. Once we're back on Verena, we can just skill, jump, mid-air attacks, and that's full concerto. Now Jinhsi does her thing, and from now on it's mostly just Verena and Jinhsi taking turns. But whenever Verena is stuck in her intro animation, we quickly swap to Yuanwu for a basic/plunge attack, which will refresh the healing set buff, then places Pillar, and do the Verena swap into basics 3, 4, 5 until outro. And that's the entire play cycle. The only downside to this team is that your echo cooldowns cannot keep up with the speed of this rotation, so Heron and Bell are only available every other rotation. Do intro on Verena, and the Heron is up and available for that rotation. What I do is I let the intro animation finish first, then cast Heron, and only then swap cancel to Yuanwu. Otherwise, it's hard to find a window to make the Heron work. Personally, this team's been working the best for me, producing the highest numbers, while also giving Jinhsi the most field time out of all team combinations. The good thing is that everybody has Yuanwu, and he requires 0 investment. You can bring him up to level 60 out of 70 for the increased AoE on his pillar, but as of right now I don't think it's mandatory. That brings us to the last combination of Jinhsi and Yinlin. Yinlin is another fantastic option, but she needs to fill her forte gauge first and takes a bit more field time than Mortefi. Rotation-wise, it's the exact same zigzag thing as with Mortefi. We want to do Verena Jinhsi, then Yinlin Jinhsi, and so on and so forth. The first rotation we start out with her 2 skills. You can even use her ultimate here because it's not needed for her main rotation or anything. You can also hold it, it's up to you. And then we go into Verena's rotation and then do our first Jinhsi rotation until her outro. After that, it's Yinlin's turn, and once the punishment marks are up, swap cancel the Heron and back onto Jinhsi. Just like with Mortefi, even if it's Verena's turn next, while she's stuck in her intro animation, we quickly swap to Yinlin, use a skill or 2, maybe even ultimate if it's up, and then complete the rotation on Verena. This will make Yinlin's next rotation much smoother. And that is honestly all I have to say about her. She has the added benefit of providing an ultimate amplify on her outro, which is nice. But my Yinlin is not built very well, so I'm getting better results with Yuanwu regardless. Let me know what you think about Jinhsi's teams. I hope this has been helpful to at least some of you. If so, please subscribe to my channel, and I'm gonna leave you with the unedited runs without commentary. If you have any questions, leave a comment or DM me in Discord, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks!
怒りました。死にたいのか。しつこいです。消してやる。出よ。花よ。いや、気をつけましょうね。全員小さな。怒りました。静かにしろ。身の程知らず。これはいかん。怒りました。消してやる。植物だって生きてるんです。よし。任せてください。灰になれ。受けてみろ。燃えろ。兵士。では、全員小さな。日向ぼっこの時間ですよ。太平を。 えるために。任せてください。
最高。
の先へ入れよ花よ。バイオミメティクス。やっ同心やっ任せてください。植物だって生きてるんです。兵士、世の光にひれ伏せ。入れよ。剣士、そろそろ終わりね。日向ぼっこの時間ですよ。同心、世の光にひれ伏せ。影の舞い降り、幽霊の力で海帰れ。どこを見ている。遅い、つまらないわ。さあ行くわ。花よ。容赦しない。剣士、締めるわよ。やったやっ、大きくなれ。舞い上がれ。無限の先へ。どこを見ている。さあ行くわ。先行レオ。あっ、どこを見ている。痛いの飛んでけ。守らなきゃ。同心甘くなる光よ。どこを見て飽きたわ。さようなら。目をそらしちゃダメよ。